Welcome back to the Road to 1 Million podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Instead of interviewing a guest, I'm actually going to be talking about some things personally. Um, this is actually meant to be for a friend of mine who is in a different city, recently moved, and was kind of asking me about getting started in mobile detailing as a way to make some side money, potentially become a full-time job. And that's kind of how I started. And so today I thought I was going to make an episode for him and for all those guys that are just starting out. Not that you can't learn something if you're doing six figures a year or more than that. I'm sure that maybe there is some valuable things in this episode that I'll discuss, maybe some interesting insights, but I really wanted to make this episode for my buddy and for all those guys starting out. So today I'm going to be talking about six pieces of advice that I would give to someone that is starting a detailing business in 2025. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about kind of my story throughout the episode and just kind of covering my own personal experience with our detailing business. Not that our detailing business was started the best way or was ran the best way. We did a lot of things wrong. We kind of stumbled and just figured it out as we went. Looking back, there's definitely things that we could have done better. And so I'll talk about a little bit of that on this week's episode. I actually had done a podcast with Nick Looper on the Side Hustle Nation show, and I would recommend checking out that episode too. I did that back in 2020, and there was obviously a lot has changed since then. But still, I talked about some of the things about starting a business, and I was really in that mindset back then, since that was only maybe 10 months since I had started the business when I did that podcast with him. So I was definitely um, a lot more in that beginner stage and could speak to it better maybe than I can speak to it now. So I'm going to do my best now, looking back, to reflect on some of these things, some of these principles that I remembered doing whenever I started, and then also just kind of discussing maybe some of the things that I've learned since then and what I think could be done better. For all you guys that are listening, maybe you figured this out at some point. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I'm not a car guy. I like cars. I think there's a lot of cool cars out there. I don't like cleaning cars. I don't think anyone in my family ever would have thought that I would be a guy that would be cleaning vehicles or doing detailing services. I think that was the last thing that they would have guessed. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I love starting businesses. I've always been like that. And I think coming out of high school and going into college, I realized I wanted to start a business that was local, something that was service based and not just product based, because I had done several product based businesses before, and I wanted to have a partner. I wanted to have someone that I could go in on this business with and could help me. And I think looking at all the successful businesses that you see, the Apples and the Googles of the world, all the way down to your local small successful businesses, but they all have teams. It's not just one guy. And so I knew I wanted to have a partner and a team. And who better than my brother, who was a car guy, and always kind of has been a car guy. And so I used my entrepreneurial skills, and we used Austin's passion for creating Belk Mobile Detailing. And so I had done a lot of things before doing car detailing. I had sold and resold Supreme and sneakers. For any of you guys that are listening that aren't familiar with Supreme, it's a designer clothing brand, and they would have a release every Thursday and at 10 a.m. And I had a program that essentially would go on and refresh the page until 10 a.m. came around, and then it would add to cart whatever item I was going for that week. And usually there was a few items that were really hot. Some weeks there was none. That was kind of the game of it all, was finding the item that was going to resell for the most. And so my program would sit there and refresh it. And some weeks was a hit and I would get one, and other weeks I wouldn't. But some of these jackets and shirts that Supreme would release, they would retail for, there was a North Face jacket I remember getting for $349. That was the retail price, sold out within 30 seconds. And I was able to resell that for $750 almost instantly. I just listed the screenshot of my order on eBay and someone would buy it. I got a Supreme Fender Stratocaster guitar. They would always do these collabs with other brands, and bought that one for just under $2,000. Resold it for, we got two of them actually. Austin and I both ran it on different credit cards. One of them I sold for $3,500 almost instantly. The other one I sold for $3,800, I believe. That was a few weeks later though. So that was what I did back in high school, and sold sneakers to friends and stuff like that. And then I tried my hand at Amazon FBA. You might have heard me mention that at some point throughout the podcast. But went in with that with a buddy and ended up losing about $3,000 total. We ended up splitting it, so we each lost about $2,000 or so. I lost a little bit more because I actually paid for a course to teach me how to do a lot of that Amazon FBA stuff. And while that stung and sucked, it was a good learning lesson. And I think it told me that I needed to do something that was more local. And that's what I really felt called to do, was something that I could get behind and actually had an understanding of, see the market, see the people, instead of just like this online obscure thing. At least for me personally, that was something that I felt called to do going forward from then. So I tried my hand at several businesses after that. I tried to do several different online things, social media marketing. I took a few courses online for social media marketing, which again, all helped develop my skill sets that I ended up using for the detailing business. But ultimately, several businesses kind of just fell through and just never really picked up traction. And then the mobile detailing thing called out to me. It was an idea from someone named Ty Lopez. You guys probably know who that is. And he had made a video about starting a mobile car wash business. That was like an idea that he had kind of suggested people to do for like a low startup. And of course, that was something I was looking for, was low startup cost. And so that called out to me, since my brother was a car guy. And we started Belk Mobile Detailing in November of 2019. Man, we made so many mistakes starting out. And we passed out flyers, we went door to door. Some of that was just to build grit and kind of get the experience in of doing that. Not that I ever thought that was going to be a huge way we got business. We ran a Facebook ad at the beginning where we were giving away a free detail every month for a whole year, and that was a big thing in the social media marketing courses I took. And back in 2018, I would say it was a lot more prevalent. Not that you don't see people doing giveaways now, you do, to build followers and leads and stuff. But anyway, I did a giveaway on it and ran a Facebook ad for it. So we were giving away one detail a month for a year, and I had like 50 people that entered in, and that was one of the first things I did. That I thought that was going to take our detailing business and just take it to the moon. And when I ended up reaching out to the winner, who I randomly picked out of these 50 leads, she didn't even want the giveaway, which was kind of funny. So I ended up sending all those people that entered in 50% off gift cards. And back then we were only charging, I think $50 was our starting price for a full detail inside and out. And I think we were actually offering, again, 50% off. So we were doing it for like $25. And I think one of those people ended up booking eventually, but I had to follow up with them for several months before that person ended up booking an appointment. And so, yeah, we did a lot of stuff wrong at the beginning, but I wanted to go ahead and start on this list, my list of 6 things, and all kind of reflecting on what we've learned and what worked for us, and then maybe some things that didn't work for us. But point number 1, create a frictionless process. I think that this was something that created the success of Belk Mobile Detailing. And when I look at a lot of the successful businesses today, businesses that we all use day by day, this is what they do well. They create a frictionless process. Chris DiGiovanni talked about this on my podcast. I hear him talk about it all the time on his Facebook page. Mobile detailing is the best way to do that. Having a detailing shop, it can be nice being inside and climate controlled, but there's a lot of overhead, and having to have a customer come to you is not frictionless. So that was one of the things that we built our business on, was that frictionless experience of we will come to you. Other ways that we separate ourselves at the beginning that no one in our city was doing was online booking. That's another part of the frictionless process. Listing your prices on your website. How many times are you looking for information for a service, and if you can't find it on someone's website, you just go to the next person? And then if they have pricing on their website, you're probably interested in learning a little bit more. Maybe it says, well, we need to see the vehicle to get an exact quotes, but at least you got some information. And so you're more likely to follow up with that company and send them a lead form. So that was another thing we did, was list all of our prices, at least starting prices, on our website, and list out as much information as we could on our website. Just put it all out there to give the customers as much information as possible before they reach out. Not that we don't want people to reach out. Of course we do. We do want people to reach out, and I think talking to someone over the phone it's essential to booking, especially higher paying jobs, but even a detailing at the beginning. It's like you want to talk to people over the phone. However, a lot of people in today's day and age don't want to do that. They want to get as much information as they can online before they reach out. Some even want to just book online. So we made that as an option as a part of our frictionless experience. Another thing is just stellar customer service, answering the phone as quickly as possible, after one or two rings. And if you miss a call, calling them back as soon as possible, calling lead forms as quickly as possible too, because it's fresh on their mind. Don't wait a day. Try to get back to them within an hour or so. And then just having great customer service throughout the entire process. I mean, I think that's part of the frictionless experience. It's just making it so easy for the customer. Another thing is gift cards. So going back to 2020, whenever we were starting, and we did the giveaway, which didn't work, flopped. But one thing that did start to work for us on social media was gift cards. In February of 2020, so 2-3 months after we had started up, and we were struggling, weren't really getting a lot of business, I ran a gift card ad for Valentine's Day. And I designed on Canva a little image of, there's just a crappy image of like a free, or not a free, but a detailing gift card that you could give to your significant other. And then I listed that on my website, and I allowed people to buy directly on my website this gift card. It was $59.99, and it would give you an interior detail and an exterior wash. I know my prices were ridiculously cheap back then. This was 5 years ago. Inflation has gone up, caused prices to go up rather, but still very, very cheap back then, which is another point I'll talk about here in a minute. Nonetheless, I think I sold $600 worth of details from that gift card, which was a big deal back then, and spent about $80 on Facebook ads for that gift card. So I think that is another part of the frictionless process, is creating gift cards, because especially around holidays, is like people want they want gifts, and if they could buy that online, and it's a unique gift like a detail, I just think that's really special and rare, and there's not a lot of other companies doing that out there. So that's another part of the frictionless process that I think really helped us. Fast forwarding a few months from there, we ended up doing that again after we saw the Valentine's Day gift card success. And for Mother's Day in May, we ran another gift card. And this time our price was higher. I think we had risen it to maybe $90 for basically the same thing. And we spent about $67. I talk about this on the Side Hustle Nation show. And then I think we got about $2,200 in gift card sales from that ad. So that one was significantly more successful than Valentine's Day one. So again, all ways that you can create that frictionless process for your customers. Point number 2, Be personable and professional. This is something that I had learned from the social media marketing classes that I was taking at the time. Put pictures of yourself on your website and on your social media of you working, not just cars. And I see this to this day as a lot of businesses continue just to post cars. But there's something psychologically whenever a client sees a person that I think that they can connect more. Whereas if they just see a car, it's more likely that you're just another business, and they see cars all day long. So show pictures of yourself, um, looking professional, doing the work on your social media, on your Google page, and on your website. And then going off of that is just your professionalism. I think having a uniform, a collared shirt, ideally, or just a really nice t-shirt with your logo on it, I think that is underrated too. Whenever you show up at the customer's home to do the detail, if you're dressed in sweatpants and just some random t-shirt, you don't look the part. And I think it might not be something consciously that the customer recognizes, but subconsciously, it just doesn't feel the same. And so being professional with your services, addressing the customer by their name, wearing a professional outfit, having great customer service and setting proper expectations and following up with them afterwards. These are all ways that you can set yourself apart and really create an experience that lasts in the customer's mind. And that's ultimately what we're going for, right? Is we're trying to create these memorable experiences that they never forget, that they tell all their friends, that they end up coming back to you for. So being personable and being professional, those are key things. Now, whenever you're first starting out, you may not have a lot of money. I know we didn't. So you're probably pulling up to customers' homes in your personal vehicle, which may or may not be that professional. My brother, whenever he was doing mobile detailing at first, he had a Honda Accord with a huge dent in the front of it and smoked out windows and a custom exhaust that sounded, oh my gosh. To this day, I can't believe that we pulled up to some of our customers' homes like that. But we joke about it. Um, there's only so much you can do at first. You can't buy a $30,000 van whenever you're first starting out, nor should you. And there's a lot of people that do that and they think that they have to do that to start. And it's not true. We started with, it was probably $1,000 piece of junk vehicle. And, you know, before Austin got out of the car, you'd be scared to think who was actually getting out of that car. It's like, who's showing up at my house? But that's how we started. And so you can do the best with what you have. And ideally, yeah, you would have a van with your graphics on it. That is ideal, but you can't start like that. So start with what you can do. You know, personally, looking back, I probably would have ripped the window tint off of my brother's car, and we probably should have had. If he's going to have tint on it, then have a little bit. Don't have 5% all the way around and 20% on the windshield. You know, where customers can't see in. Take the exhaust off. Like these little things, whenever you're pulling up to nice houses, you want to look professional. You want the customer to feel comfortable. Knocking on the door, that's another thing. I don't ring doorbells. I knock on the door. I think that there's a saying, neighbors knock. So I always knock on the door when I get there. I'm not texting them. We had an employee at one point that was just texting customers whenever she would get there, and I mean she was an amazing employee, and just meant well, was so kind and such a hard worker. But that is something that does not fly, is like, do not text the client when you get there. Go knock on the door. I mean, I can't think of any time ever I've had someone come out to my house and they text me when I get here, expect me to come out. That's just weird. So neighbors knock, always knock. Um, but yeah, another thing is social media. Don't just post cars. Post videos of yourself. Post of yourself working on the vehicle. I've been starting to do this a lot more lately with our social media, just posting pictures and videos of myself and my team, and trying to build that connection with our customers and people that are seeing us on social media. But I think that's huge, and that'll set yourself apart from the competition. I look at some of the high end shops here in town, and a lot of them still aren't posting photos of themselves or their teams. And so there's a huge opportunity here, in my opinion, to connect with your customers when others aren't. Going into one more thing I want to talk about being on that personal and professional thing is over time you can upgrade. That's the first thing I would invest your money back in, is investing back into your professionalism, whether that's through a uniform, thank you cards. Grant Menard on my podcast talked about having these really thick business cards to hand out, and just stuff like that goes a long way. It's like, oh wow, this is a really professional business, and I can tell based on the little things that they do. Thank you notes is another huge thing. Following up with every customer, just checking in to see how your detail was. Make sure that you're 100% happy with it. Going into point number 3, and this will segue perfectly, is focus on today's customer. We have a tendency to want to focus on the people that don't know us. And it's such a flaw. We need to focus on who's in front of us today. And of course, we have to answer the phone to set the appointments for tomorrow. And we have to call the appointment that's booked for Friday and make sure that they understand proper expectations of what's going to be possible on their detail. But the most important thing is who's in front of you today and servicing that person to the best of your ability, instead of focusing on what business you might be able to get from people that don't even know you on Facebook or Instagram. So going on that, I would say give that person that you're doing today 100% of your effort and just knock it out of the park for them. Create a memorable experience to where they want to tell all their friends and all their family about your service. When I look back, the 2 best ways that we've gotten business before Google, and Google's played a huge part of our business, is number 1, referrals, and number 2 is repeat business. And it takes a while sometimes for that stuff to start to pay off, I think, which is why it's hard to want to focus on that. But it is extremely important to do the best job you can on that person today, because that is how your business will ultimately grow. Every guy I've talked to on the podcast has said that their business has grown from referrals. And you start to get people that come back in 6 months and a year, and yeah, that takes a little bit of time before it starts to pay off. But in time, you'll realize that that's why you give that customer that great experience, is so that way that they will tell their friends and family, and then they will come back with their second vehicle or their wife's vehicle, or they'll book a detail for one of their family members or their daughter or their son. So focus on today's customer, give them 100% of your energy, of your effort, and focus on making that a super memorable experience. Over time, when you start to hire employees and stuff like that, it's then getting them to understand that too, because no one's going to care about your business as much as you do. And so that's one thing that we continue to work on, is helping every employee to understand that the reason that this person is here today is because we spent the time whenever whoever referred them came to make sure that they were taken care of and make sure that they felt at home, to make sure that they felt like they actually mattered and that they weren't here as just another transaction. And I don't ever want my business to become a business where people feel like they're just a number and they're just a transaction. And so it's so important to explain to your team as you start to grow that we need to focus on making this a memorable experience. This is a person behind the car. It's not just a car. And I think we have a tendency as we grow to want to create all these processes and systems. And not that that's not good. Of course, we need systems and processes to some extent, but ultimately there's a person behind that who has a story. They have a reason they're coming to you. Maybe they saw you on Google. Maybe they saw you on Facebook. Maybe they were referred to you. And you need to service that person based on their story. If they're coming to you because they're planning to sell this vehicle, they may have certain pain points. Maybe it's something in between the seats. Maybe it's a headliner stain. Maybe they don't even really care about making it perfect, and they really just kind of want it generally cleaned up. And not that you still don't treat that person similarly to the way you treat every other customer, but there is something unique about each and every customer that I think you have to tailor to, and you have to, as the customer service representative that's handling that customer, you have to explain that to the rest of your team so that they too can understand and service this person to the best of their ability. Communication, with the customer and communication with your team is one of the most important things in running a business. It's something that I harp on all my guys, and they harp on me all the time, is just making sure that you should over communicate before you under communicate. It's like, I want to let you know everything that this customer told me, so that way that we're all on the same page and you understand just as much as I do. Point number 4. This is a controversial one. Start with cheaper prices. This is how we did it. It's not necessarily something that I think you have to start as low as we did. It's not necessarily something I think that everyone has to do. But whenever you're starting out, your overhead's lower. You're going to be pocketing a lot of the money as profit because you don't have employees. You don't have a shop. You probably don't have a van set up. So you can get away with charging less. I don't think you need to start out right where everyone at the top is. We're charging $300, $400, $500 for a detail. If you're starting out, I don't think there's anything wrong with charging $150. We charged $30 when we started out. And then we worked our way up to 60 and then 90 and then 120. And we slowly raised it over time. And one of the toughest things for us now has been these customers that were a customer in 2022 now coming back to us. How do we handle that? I just had a customer in last week that she's such an amazing customer, so kind to us. She's been a customer for 4 years now. And whenever we first detailed our car, I think it was around $100, $120 for a full detail and just tons of dog hair. I mean, carpets that will make you vacuum for 3 hours. And we were struggling with what do we charge her this time around? And every year we've gone up a little bit. But I mean, this time around, it took us a long time. I think it took us like 4 hours with like almost 3 people on it and just vacuuming for 3 hours. And it's like, we can't keep doing this. So we ended up charging her $260, which is still incredibly low. And she tipped us well. And she was like, were you spending that whole time just cleaning my car? Please tell me you weren't. She ended up bringing us a pie. Such an amazing customer. But that's something that we struggle with now. And I think that we've realized that people will pay your increased price, and you have to get out of your head about that. Obviously, always set the expectation up front that like, hey, I want to let you know next time it's going to be a little bit more, or before they show up, hey, I know that last time you paid $150 for a full detail. This time around, it's going to be a little bit higher, likely between $200, $250. If you want to bring it by, and so we can take a look at it, or if you're mobile, I'm happy to come out to you and take a look at it. Just give you a price before we start, just to make sure you're okay with that, because some people are on a budget, right? So try to be respectful of that and always set the expectation up front. I try never to surprise them with the price at the end, especially if you're going to raise it from the last time. But nonetheless, I think starting with cheaper prices is totally okay. And I think that gives you an opportunity to service some of the people in your immediate network that probably couldn't afford a $300-$400 detail. And again, your overhead is a lot lower. So there is nothing wrong with charging a little bit less, because you're going to profit a little bit more than I am, just because I have so much more overhead. So plan to raise your prices slowly over time, of course. But yeah, a lot of people on this podcast talk about it's a race to the bottom. And I agree with that. But people that are coming to us that are our good customers, they don't want the cheapest guy. They want us because we have tons of reviews, because we've been doing this for a long time. We don't have to try to convince them. It's not a sales game with them. They either see it or they don't. And there are people that are never going to go with the most expensive guy. They're always just the kind of person that, with everything that they do, that they're going to go with the guy that is a little bit cheaper but runs a smaller operation, doesn't have as much overhead. And that's okay. There's customers for everyone. And so we're not tailoring to those kinds of people anymore. And we get calls from them all the time, and we recommend them to local detailers here in town that have a little bit cheaper prices, but they also have less overhead. So I don't think there's anything wrong with charging cheaper prices. That's just a part of business. And, if your business can't sustain itself because everyone calling you just says, oh, your prices are too expensive and you're going to go to the next guy, then you probably just don't have a competitive advantage. You're not established well enough to where people feel like they're going to get the value from you. And so that's something that I think you need to look at. We don't have that problem. We have customers that don't want to pay our prices, and we have customers that are more than happy to pay whatever we quote them. So it's just a part of business, and I think there's nothing wrong with having cheaper prices when you start. I think it's a great way to get business at the beginning. Point number 5 is work your organic market. Your friends and family, those are the most important people to start with. I've got a text message I pulled up from my mom back from 2019. I pulled it up yesterday, and she was sending out in group chats to her friends a text that said, "Hey, my boys are starting a mobile detailing business. Here's their website. Um, call them, text them if you guys have any questions or like to get your cars detailed." And we got a few customers from that at the beginning. And you have to realize that maybe those people aren't someone that will use your service. Maybe they're not even the greatest customer, but they probably know someone who will be, or they know someone who will know someone. And you'd be surprised at when you look at how that networking effect plays out, how many people then end up becoming a great customer for you that sticks around year after year for 5, 10 years. And they all came from one of those people in your immediate network. And so take care of those people at the beginning and service them, give them a great experience. And I think that that's how we got a lot of business at first. You can also use those people to establish Google reviews, and take photos of their car, post it on Facebook and tag them. Grant Menard talked about that too. And then you can use them as just experience too, just building experience with your detailing, so that way you get more comfortable with those friends and family. I had Alex Lee on the podcast from Rhino, and he was talking about he ruined a lot of his friends' cars at first whenever he was first starting out, especially with some of the higher end services where there's more room for error. And so, um, yeah, I think that starting with friends and family is really important, not just for using them as referral sources and Google reviews, but also as a way to practice and just get experience on. Speaking of Google reviews, I think that while your organic market is important, use those people in your organic market to start building Google reviews, because Google has been an extremely important part of our business. I think it's harder now than it was, but Google does a really good job on Google Maps, that is, of targeting people that are close to you. And so if you set up your Google business using your home address, the people in your immediate neighborhood and around there will, whenever they search for car detailing near me, will be more likely to see you, especially if you have a decent amount of 5-star reviews over some of the competition that's on the other side of town. So that's something I realized pretty early on, was you will get business from Google even if you only have 10, 15, 25-star reviews. I don't know at what point we started to really notice a significant difference in traffic, but I was going back and listening to that podcast I did with Nick from the Side Hustle Show, and that was in August, I think, of 2020. It's around 10 months after we'd started our business. And I think I told him we were getting 5 to 7 organic phone calls a day from Google. And so we probably didn't have but maybe 35-star reviews at that point. So definitely focus on getting those Google reviews, because Google's algorithm does do a good job of pushing that out. There's a lot of SEO tactics. I'm not going to talk about that as much on this podcast today, maybe in the future. There's a lot of SEO tactics. Chris DiGiovanni has talked about them. There's a ton of just stuff on YouTube, and you can Google, probably ask ChatGPT how to best optimize your Google page for SEO. Just a few things off the top of my head that I still do is geotagging photos, just making sure that the photos are the correct size and dimensions that Google likes. That's another thing. And putting that stuff on your website, making sure your website has a quick load time. I think Chris DiGiovanni also said 500, 800 words per page, I think. Tons of buttons on your website. There's definitely ways that you can optimize your website and your Google page to appear higher on search results. So that was definitely an important part of our business, although it took a while to really start to pick up. And ultimately, the only reason we saw traction on Google was because we worked our organic network first, and we used those people to build 5-star Google reviews, and also have them take photos of the vehicle and use that to post with their Google review. Facebook reviews are fine too. We built a ton of reviews on Facebook at the beginning, which that also I think was extremely important. So point number 6, be seen everywhere and overwhelm the competition. And this is something that we are doing super hard today. We want to be seen on Facebook, Instagram, Google. We want you to hear about us whenever you're talking about detailing amongst your friends and family. We want you to hear us just everywhere. And we were on the radio at one point. We want to start doing more events, follow-up emails and text. I think just constantly being in the customer's ear and reminding them that you're here is extremely important, and something that I think, looking back, I would focus on even more back then, especially things like follow-up, whether it's email or text message. It's something that oftentimes gets ignored. And again, we go back to wanting to focus on people that don't know you, trying to get business from random cold leads off of Facebook. And it's silly because there's people that do know you out there that maybe they're not in the immediate mindset of needing a detail, but they might spill something in their vehicle next week and need you, or maybe their friends and family that they're going to be hanging out with this weekend. Maybe one of them is in the market for a detail, and just by following up with that person, you put yourself in the front of their brain, and then they start talking about you with all their friends and family. And I think that's more likely to trigger referrals. So be seen everywhere and overwhelm the competition is something that we're focusing on a ton. We send thank you cards for Christmas. When we were doing more mobile, we had A-frame signs that we would put up. Even on our where we're at right now, we're located at a car wash, and we have signs at the car wash everywhere that share our business name and our logo. We've got there's a digital car wash board right off of the main road there, and we had the owner put our logo up there. And so I think that things like that are, we actually think we traded for that service, by the way. I think that we did that's what it was. There was another way we did a trade service with the owner of the car wash where we detailed his boat for him, and then he did an email or a text message blast to 10,000 of the car wash customers. This car wash has 5 locations, and they had 10,000 customers in their CRM. And he asked if we would be open to doing a trade. And so he sent out a text message linking it to our website, and we gave a small discount for everyone that used a certain discount code. And so we did that last year, and it was a great success. We had tons of people sending us screenshots of the text message that already knew us, saying, "Hey, I just got this text message from the car wash of your business. They were shouting you out." And so that all goes back to just being seen everywhere and overwhelming the competition. To that point, trade services are huge. Like, if you can trade services with other service-based businesses to help kind of get your business out there, whether it's maybe a marketing guy that you can detail his car once a month and maybe he'll help you out a little bit. Or, I mean, one of my buddies down in Joplin who I had on the podcast, Jake, I know that he does trade services all the time for stuff around his shop. If he's needing some work done, he'll always offer to do a ceramic coating or a detail for them in exchange for, some of these high-end services. So it just helps to save a lot of money, especially whenever you're first starting out. Google, I haven't talked a ton about Google on this podcast, but it was an important thing for us, and we are number one on Google for a lot of keywords in our local area. And I hear people say all the time when they come into us that, "Oh, I found you on Google," or "You guys have so many good 5-star reviews. I knew I had to go with you." So it's something that takes time to rank well for, and that's not going to be something within the first 6 months that you get business from, but it's something that I think is extremely important to start building at first. It's like an investment, and it pays off over time. So by working your organic market and those people that you're detailing up front at first, you really want to push Google reviews and And over time, your SEO, if you're doing things right, will start to improve, and you'll start to rank higher for a lot of those keywords. And another thing I did was just going on podcast. I send out email to Nick whenever I first started, and I asked him. I can't even remember what I'd said to Nick. I don't even think I'd asked to be on the podcast, but he offered for me to come on his podcast, and then he plugged our website on his podcast and on his website. And Google loves good backlinks, so if you can get a reputable business, especially locally, that has a ton of traffic on their website, if you can get them to link your website, then oftentimes that will really help your SEO presence. So those are just little things that I picked up on listening to courses on social media marketing and YouTube videos, and have really helped our SEO over time. So I think Google and your website and your search engine optimization, your SEO, I think all that stuff it'll take time, but I think it's extremely important to start building up at first. And then a year from now, whenever you're done starting to establish those things, I think you'll really notice that they're paying dividends. Well, I think that covers most of what I wanted to talk about on this week's episode. I probably might do another one of these at some point. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I hope that all you guys that are just getting started out there that are listening to this found this helpful. If you have any questions at all, you can either drop them on the comments, or you can send me an email. Send it over to info@belkmobiledetailing.com. You can also just DM us on Instagram as well. I will see most of those. I hope you guys are enjoying these podcasts as a whole. I'm really enjoying putting them out. We do have them on YouTube now too, so I've started to upload the video components on YouTube, so make sure to check that out as well. Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope you guys are able to find some kind of value in this podcast, and we'll be back again next week.